Hello. So I kind of wanted to do a tutorial on API clients. So I get started on one. This is gonna be kind of a crappy recording. I might edit it a little bit later. Um, yeah. So let's get started. It's like 9:22 in the morning, so I'm trying to be a little more quiet. Yeah. Okay. So what we've got is we're going to try building a GitHub API client, and while doing that, you might want to take a look at the GitHub Getting Started with REST API documentation. Pretty good shit, pretty good shit. Oh, there's my bookmarks. Let me just hide that. Okay, anyways. Uh, So I want to get started with making a GitHub API client. The only reason that I want to do this is because API clients are pretty important when you're doing day-to-day work. There's a lot of people who have applications where they want to be able to link those applications to another application. Um, and so this guide will kind of teach you how to do that programmatically. So the first thing that we're going to be looking at here is like this guide. They're like, you can do like some hello world with curl, and like some get requests, get like some JSON. You can do like authentication. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. And so with all of this, let's see exactly what's going on. So what they're describing is how to actually use like getting onto their API using just curl. And so the first thing that they say is like you can curl https api.github.com/link. So we'll do curl https api.github.com/design. Then we get design for failure. In fact, let's try it again. Design for failure. So that's what it does. So then let's do a different get. So we're gonna say curl http users defunct. Which that guy was not found. So that's kind of helpful. We can curl ourself though. Oh, you know what? The endpoint wasn't found because I had a typo. There we go. There's defunct. We get back a JSON. Now, a lot of things on the internet come back as JSONs. So we got stuff like has a login, has an ID, it's got an avatar URL, oops, gravatar ID, it's got a company, a blog, a location. He would have an email maybe. He's got a bio, it's a cheeseburger. Yeah, so that's some details about that user. And try looking up myself. Oh, there's me. I was created in 2015. That's pretty interesting. It's the only reason I wanted to look up myself. So I've been doing GitHub since 2015. Pretty alright, pretty alright. Yeah, there's like some starred gits, stuff like that. So that's some stuff about our user. Let's see. In this guide, they show like we also want to attach, say, so like we get a user to say, tastes like JSON, but let's add this -i flag. So that brings back some headers. So you can see that in these headers we get like HTTP server, GitHub request, etc. Let's do that. We'll go to here, go -i. And then here's like our headers, just as described, and then our JSON. But then we get to the juicy part. We talk about authentication. And authentication is the juicy part because unauthenticated clients can make 60 requests per hour. To get more requests per hour, we'll need to authenticate. In fact, doing anything interesting with the GitHub API requires authentication. So you can get personal access tokens. I'm going to click this link and maybe edit this next part out. Let's see, it's about getting using your personal access token setting page. I've never made one, you see. So this next part I might blur it or something, but we're going to generate a new token. And let's see, new personal access token. So let's do this as like video demo demonstration. And this one will expire say that it expires tomorrow. So what's today? Expires tomorrow. And what can one do with this token? I don't know. There's quite a bit of things that you can do. Let's do like a repo status. Maybe not full control of repo. Repo status. Let's think. A lot of these settings are like, what about that? Making a gist might be cool. Yeah, let's just generate a token like that. Look, we get a token. Cool. So let me go back to here. And then they talk about curl IU username, curl IU username. Let's do that. We're just gonna copy. No, let's not just copy that. Let's go back to our curl. Do IU one, and then let's take my token, copy that, and then let's paste it, and then see what happens. Oh look, I got like some stuff back, but that's actually interesting because check this out. We do this without our token. We're going to be asked to log in. Gosh, my voice got really raspy there. See, we're asked to log in. Get my password. Then we logged in. Bam, see, same thing. So using our token or using our password are kind of the same. That's what we're learning here. So. But once we can make personal access tokens, this becomes pretty easy. So we would use these tokens like so. So they describe here with curl, we're going to do a -h, which is add a header. This header is going to say authorization token, blah, 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 blah. And then we get some stuff. So let's go and actually write some code. Let's clear that, and then let's, gosh, I might need multiple windows here. So let me open this up to say a separate window. And then let's see. I might need to see some of my already built API clients. So look at that one. Let's go to here. And let's make a new one. So we'll do mix new GitHub API wrapper. It's technically a wrapper. Let's -- sub so that we have supervision trees with it. So when we've created it, we'll go to our code. We'll open our folder for our GitHub API client, GitHub API wrapper. Alright, so we're in here, and the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add some dependencies. We might also want to define like what our client is actually going to be doing. So we might make a new file, call it client. Do I want to make it there? Yeah, I do. Make a new file, call it client.ex. Maybe we might call it Github API Client.ex. And this next part is just going to be some knowledge that I already know. So let's go back to our mix.exs file. We want to add some dependencies. So let's go and look for a little library called Tesla. Elixir. Not Tesla Motors. And look at this guide. It describes Tesla and how we otherwise might want to use it, and how we would want to install it. So we'll install Tesla by basically copying these dependencies into our dependencies. So we want Tesla, we want Hackney, and we want JSON. And then Elixir is going to go and get those as dependencies. There'll be dependencies here. Then let's go and make our API client. So I have to look at what I've already built before. So we'll make a def module. We'll call it our GitHub API wrapper.client. Let's see if that's, yeah, that's the name of our thing. So GitHub API wrapper.client. And then we'll make a def new function. And this new function is going to take in our token. And by default, it might take in the system env token. We'll make a function p called system env token. This function will do application.get env. We'll say GitHub API wrapper, and then we'll say GitHub personal access token. So we've got a few things to set up there. Then we'll do, and let's make the rest of this client. So we'll say this client has some middleware. And this middleware will have Tesla dot middleware dot base URL, and its base URL is going to be https api.github.com, I think. So let's just double check. So look at here, and most of the time people are doing github.com, just like that. So we'll say that's our base URL. And what else am I doing in this? Want maybe a Tesla dot middleware dot timeout, and maybe we want to time out with 10 seconds. And we want Tesla.middleware.json. That means that we want JSON responses. Tesla.middleware.headers. And in our headers, we're going to have a list. It's going to have some tuples. And we really just want authorization to be a token. And then we'd want to put our system env token here. So we'll say this will be token. That creates our middleware. And I don't know I necessarily need this, but I'm going to add it anyways. I'm going to say content type. That's going to be application JSON. So that makes some middlewares. Then we're going to go Tesla.client. Let's say middleware, and we're gonna have to give it an adapter. So let's go up and let's add an adapter. We're going to use tesla.adapter.httpc, although there are better adapters. Just keep that in mind. So you can actually see that if we go to Tesla, we go and look at its documentation, and we look up about adapters. There we go, Tesla adapters. So we've got HTTPC. We've got Hackney, we've got Eyebrows, we've got Gun, we've got Mint, and we've got Finch. So let's try replacing our adapter to Hackney since we brought it in. We used Hackney before. Let's see how it works. So in part of making our API client, we might need to make some requests to GitHub. So we've got our client. Let's go to like our GitHub wrapper here. Let's make a function called, well, I have to do two things in two places. So let's make a function here called def get, and get is going to take a URL, and then it's going to take some options, but not all the time are we going to give it options. Then we're going to say that this one's going to do tesla.get. We're going to pass it our client. Might as well name this new client. So we're going to give it a new client every time, and then we'll give it our URL, and then maybe some options if they're present. So that's how we make a get function. And then we'll go to our API here, and then let's make a function that describes getting one of our users. So let's see, it's like users optocat. So we'll say def get user, and then we might want to ask like who's the user. So we put that as input. Then we'll say GitHub API wrapper client dot get, and then we'll say that our get URL is users, and then we'll attach user. That should result in much to the same response. So let's actually test. So we'll go into our terminal either here, or we'll go into a terminal here, and then we can say that's iex-s mix. If you're on Windows, you might have to say, I'll show you on a different terminal, iex-s mix dash. It's either dash werl or -werl, but you'll have to say that to be able to open up your little interactive Elixir, which is down here at the bottom. So that's interactive Elixir. I just hit enter a bunch of times. And so we're going to say GitHub API wrapper dot get GitHub user, and let's look for myself. Oh, got an issue. Our token is not there, actually. Let's go look at our code. So we say that we want to do application.getEnv GitHub API wrapper GitHub personal access token. And so what we want to do there technically is use some configurations, but it doesn't look like in my API wrapper I've got a configuration file necessarily made. So I'll show a configuration a different way. Unless I can just make a config file. I haven't been here before, folks, so it's kind of the issue that we've got going here. What we're doing is setting the app to get a system env variable. So one of the things that we might do with that is we might have a folder called config. So let's make a new folder called config. And in this config folder, we're going to make a new file called, gosh, never made an Elixir config like this. Elixir config. So let's see, make a config.exs. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that config.exs. So we're going to say import config, and then we're going to configure our app, GitHub API wrapper, and then we're going to say that our, what do we call it in here? GitHub personal access token. So I'm going to say that our GitHub personal access token is equal to system.getEnv. And the system env that we want to get is our GitHub personal access token env variable. Say import config. This is just copying from the website. So our config should look like that. Let's kill our application, and I just want to reload this window just because it looks like there's some problems in my mix right here. Start permanent mix env equals prod. I don't think I wanted to do that. Look at what's it screaming about specifically. Config test.exs. Do I need that? New file. Test.exs. We'll say so trying to, I think we just needed test.exs to exist actually. So it looks like we're good now. So our config, so we set up to get a environment variable GitHub personal access token. So if we go and do export GitHub personal access token, and let me make sure that I am writing this right. Let's see. Open file. Yeah, I'm writing that right. So we'll say like that, and then let's go and get our personal access token again. Paste that in, so we get that. Then we say echo GitHub personal access token. You can see we've got our token set up in our little Linux environment, and then we'll say iex mix, and it could not read dev.exs, which is okay. So let's take this and then go and do file dev.exs, and we'll basically have the same config in here. We want it to import config.exs. Oops. That's dash mix. mix, attempting to load it recursively, so maybe I don't want that to be in there. Let me see how my other config file looks. Yeah, it looks like that. Okay, so well, -s. Then over in our API client, we'll try doing basically the same function. So we'll copy that into our terminal, and look, we get our token. And so now we go to our API wrapper, and we say GitHub API wrapper.get GitHub user. And you can see we did get our token. But we had another issue happen. And it's partially because I'm using Hackney. You can see Hackney is part of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use HTTPC. I'm going to recompile. Let's do it again. What do we get? Something about what we did is not worded right. So let's see. Wow, we have to word it. So we'd say authorization token, give our token. Oh, you know what? I see what I didn't word right. I need to say authorization like that. Look at my other client that I've made before. Yeah, so we want to say it like that. Now we want to say like this. Content type. Okay, so I had some things in the wrong place. So let's recompile. Let's try Hackney again. Compile. There we go. Now we get a 200 response. And so you can see that we sent some Tesla with our authorization, our content type. And then when we got our body back, we got the avatar URL, some like events, got like a login, got a name, and we got like repos URL, got like header, like all these headers, and then we got a 200. So a lot of the time when you're making API calls, you might only care about the stuff that is in the body. So code-wise with Elixir, let's just examine our terminal closely here. Let's zoom that in. Hopefully everybody can see. So we might want to say our GitHub API client. Say like, this is pattern matching in Elixir. So we get our response, get an OK in our response. So now if we say response, there's our response by itself. Let's say that we want response.body. There we go. We've got like our response body. And a lot of the times people might want to find something about the response body. So we might say if response body and let's say the name is equal to Satos. Let's if something like that, do potato, else let's do not 8. Center that, and look, we got a potato. So then let's say that if it is not Nate, then we will get not Nate. So if the response body.name is not equal to Nathan Casados, do not Nate. If it is equal to Nathan Casados, do potato. And yeah, so that's how we'd make a API client of sorts. And you might have to do some other building type stuff with it. So let's get back to 100% over here, and let's look at our client again. Pull down my terminal since it's all the way up there. So other things that you might do at an endpoint is like you might do anything that is REST. So let's look at REST API. And there's probably a good Wikipedia article on it. Representational state transfer. And so we can see that this has some things like get, post, put, and delete. And there's also options, but in our code we've made a get function, so we might make a post and do. So let's just set that def post, def put, and def delete. And so I'm not exactly sure what everything is going to require specifically when you're making them, but with def post we might say tesla.post, and we'd say our new client, and then some URL, and then some parameters. Let's just say params that you're posting to a particular endpoint. So you might say this function takes in a URL and some params, and the parameters, if there's nothing, are just going to be some empty key value pairs. And then let's say that there's a put. Let's see if I've ever written a put function before. Tesla.put. I don't think I've ever written a put before. Oh, I have written a put before. Here we go. So let's say Tesla.put and our new client and the URL and some params that are being put. URL, params. It looks the same as our post. And then we've got a delete. So with delete, we just want the URL. We'll say tesla.delete new client, and then put our URL. So I've got nothing really to post, put, or delete, but this is how you would otherwise make an API client using Elixir to be able to do things on some API endpoint. So yeah, it's a fun time. Thank you for watching.